Welcome to class, everyone. Online students, I hope I'm audible. In our previous lecture, we had talked about the factors responsible for the intellectual churning during this age, namely the socio-economic, political, and religious factors that were responsible. And now we need to talk about three great intellectual movements, that is Jainism, Buddhism, and the Upanishadic thought. एक एक करके कवर करते हैं इनको. फर्स्ट, जैनिज्म. फाउंडर कौन? वर्धमान महावीर. हु वाज ही? द 24th तीर्थंकर. तीर्थंकर was a great teacher. कौन थे? वर्धमान महावीर. He laid down the foundations of Jainism and expounded its teachings and philosophy. Now we need to take a look at the teachings and philosophy of Jainism. First of all, the teachings of Jainism. क्या है ये? The three Ratnas. Or the three jewels, namely right faith, right knowledge, right faith, and right conduct. Right conduct for a true Jain means observing the Panch Mahavratas. That is the 5 great vows. These are Ahimsa, Asteya, Satya, Apagriha, and Brahmacharya. Ahimsa is complete non-violence. That means not to kill anyone or anything for any reason. Asteya is not to steal, and this definition is also an extreme one. It means not even consuming more than what you need for basic survival. Satya is not to tell lies under any circumstance. Apagriha is not to accumulate wealth. Wealth over here is not simply material wealth, it also refers to the clothes that you wear on your back, the relations that you have with your family members, your friends, etc., your relatives, right? तो ये सब कुछ भी acquire नहीं करना है. You must live life as a complete renunciant. You should even give up wearing clothes. And brahmacharya is an extreme form of celibacy. Celibacy simply refers to the act of not maintaining sexual contact with the people of the opposite sex. For Jainism, brahmacharya was not to have any contact with the opposite sex. ठीक है? Out of the Panch Mahavratas, the first four were given by the 23rd Tirthankara. क्या नाम था इनका? Paraswanath. And the last one, that is Brahmacharya, was given by the 24th Tirthankara. कौन? वर्धमान महावीर. Clear? Then next important teaching of Jainism is the idea of Sayadvad or Anekantvad. What is the main thrust over here? क्या हो रहा है ये? That there is no ultimate truth, or rather we can say absolute truth, which is visible to ordinary humans. And why is this? Because the perception of ordinary humans is flawed. This is a result of flawed perception of ordinary humans. What actually appears to be the truth for an ordinary human may in fact be simply his perception that is misguiding him. In fact, for any perception, there can be 7 different explanations. It can either be true or it can be non-true, or it can be a combination of the two. In some cases, it may be true. While in others, it is never going to be true. Some observations baffle the human consciousness, and we can never be certain whether they are true or not, right? So we really cannot say. Clear? Further, some observations may appear to be true, but we cannot say for sure whether they are true or not. Some observations appear to be false, but once again, we cannot say whether they are true or not, whether they are actually false. And finally, there are those explanations about which there is no certainty at all. At the same time or at different times, they may be true, non-true, or maybe completely uncertain. ठीक है? तो इसमें वही है कि suppose I write this, it appears to be 6, but इसको उल्टा कर दो, it would be 9, right? So at the same time, it is two different things. Go and tell somebody outside the classroom क्या लिखा था क्लास में. He may not know, so therefore he cannot say. Maybe you say that 6 लिखा हुआ था, he may believe you, but he cannot say for sure. I say 9 लिखा था, he may believe me, cannot say for sure. So on and so forth. That is why Jainism is also known as सप्तभंग का न्याय. Sapt is 7, Bhangika is having 7 different varieties, and Nyaya is logic. ठीक है? What is the significance of Syadvad और अनेकांतवाद? ऑर्डिनरी ह्यूमंस को नहीं पता लग सकता है कि एक्चुअल रियलिटी क्या है, राइट? बट हु कैन नो? दोज हु हैव अटेन्ड एनलाइटनमेंट, नोन एज कैवल्य. ठीक है? नाउ द अटेनमेंट ऑफ कैवल्य हाउएवर इज नॉट स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. ऐसा नहीं है कि एक रात बैठे यू मेडिटेटेड एंड नेक्स्ट डे यू अटेन कैवल्य. रादर you must undergo 5 successive stages to attain kaivalya. What are these? Firstly, you must master Shruti. Shruti is knowledge that is acquired through hearing, observation. ठीक है? Secondly, you must master mati. Whatever you learned from your books, teachers, etc., that would be useless if you are unable to apply it in real life. This is common sense. Third stage that you must master following this is avdhi. That is having knowledge of distant events without ever visiting them. And fourthly, manah praya. This is to know someone's thoughts, what the other people are thinking. And the very final stage is kaivalya or supreme knowledge. How should it be attained? How can it be attained? By conquering the senses. Okay? And once Vardhaman Mahavir attained Kaivalya, supreme knowledge, enlightenment, he was known as Jinnah or the conqueror. Now, for each of these stages of knowledge, an individual must take the help of a spiritual guide or guru. Okay? So, role of a guru is important for guidance. Through each of these stages. ठीक है? Sorry. Next, we have the philosophy of Jainism. When asked about the existence and nature of God, what did Mahavir respond? That gods exist, but are inferior to the Tirthankaras. ठीक है? So, when asked about the nature of the universe, would Vardhaman Mahavir respond by saying that God created the universe? No. In fact, he said about the universe that it has not been created and cannot be destroyed. Therefore, it is permanent. Now another question arises: if it is permanent, does it exist in stasis without any change, or is it constantly changing? It is constantly changing. So it is permanent, but mutable universe. ठीक है? Now, according to Vardhaman Mahavir, the universe is governed by something that is known as the universal law. According to this law, the universe undergoes successive cycles of rise and decline. Cycle of rise is known as Utsarpani, and cycle of decline is known as Avsarpani. What is the reason behind this successive rise and decline? क्या है? No, it is the interaction of soul with matter. ठीक है? This rise and decline is caused by the interaction of matter and soul. ठीक है? According to him, soul resides in each and every object that exists. So even matter has soul. So both living as well as non-living objects have a soul. Only difference between them is their consciousness. While the living beings have a conscious soul, non-living beings have an unconscious soul, sachet or achet. ठीक है? It is the imprint or the impact of achet soul on sachet soul on achet soul that causes this cycle of rise and decline. Now, according to him, in a single such cycle where the universe experiences one single Utsarpani and Avsarpani, there appear 36 great personalities known as Shakal Purushas. ठीक है? Out of which 12 are Chakravartin Rajas, 12 kings. बचे कितने? 24. कौन होते होंगे ये? तीर्थंकराज. 12 Chakravartin Rajas and 24 Tirthankaras. He further went on to claim that he is the 24th Tirthankara, the last and final Tirthankara of this particular period. How to distinguish between the phase of rise and decline? During the phase of rise, we see a general rise in morality, in happiness, in even lifespan, in order within society, etc. These kinds of things. अवसरपनी में इसका उल्टा होगा, ऑपोजिट होगा. ठीक है? Regarding the soul, what did he say? क्या बोला सोल के बारे में? He said that the universe is full of soul. ठीक है, both living and non-living things have a soul. What distinguishes them is consciousness. Living beings have a conscious soul, and thus they are full of consciousness or sachet. Non-living things do not have a consciousness, thus they are achet. Irrespective of whether the soul is sachet or achet, it has the ability to experience suffering. ठीक है, so wherever there is soul there is suffering. और दुख. ठीक है, as a result, very existence of any person, animal, or even object, that is suffering. So existence itself is a curse. And how to lift that curse? नहीं. When talking about salvation, Vardhaman Mahavir first explained the reason for the soul to be endlessly trapped in the cycle of birth and rebirth. That means being forced to exist. And if it is being forced to exist, it is suffering pain, right? It is experiencing pain, dukh. According to him, the reason for entrapment in the cycle of birth and death, that is endless suffering, is karma or action. And therefore, karma is the real bane of the soul. He further goes on to explain that the soul is like a seed around which the karma of the previous births accumulates in the form of a cosmic matter known as Pudgal. ठीक है? And this traps the soul, thus keeping it trapped in the cycle of birth and rebirth. So, how to attain salvation? By attaining a state known as शून्यता. शून्यता क्या है? That is nothingness. How? By removing the imprint of the previous births on the soul, by destroying the accumulated karma and preventing any new karma from being accumulated. And thus, the path to salvation consists of two activities that should go on throughout an individual's life. Samvar and निर्जर. राइट? संवर के थ्रू क्या करना है? Prevention of accumulation of new karma. And निर्जर के थ्रू actively destroying the accumulated karma. ठीक है? Now, how to prevent accumulation of new karma? That you should be causing the least amount of suffering. How to do that? By living the life of a renunciant, by observing the Panch Mahavratas, by begging for alms, right? By not accumulating wealth, by not stealing anyone, by stealing anything, by not killing anyone. Okay? So, samvar is actually a synonym of renunciation. Living the life of an ascetic. And how to destroy the accumulated karma that is already present? प्रायश्चित, पश्चाताप, क्या बोलते हैं? पेनेंस. That is to act such as Keshlochan, Santhara. Keshlochan is plucking away all the hair from your body one by one, causing yourself pain as an act of penance for the causing you have caused others during this and previous lifetimes. The act of Santhara, हाँ, प्लकिंग हेयर, एक 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 करके सारे नोच लेते हैं, राइट? सांथारा और सल्लेखना क्या होता है ये? Starving oneself to death, right? So a very painful process once again. Clear? This is the teaching and philosophy of Jainism. Now, significance of Jainism. बताइए क्या है ये? What is the significance of Jainism? First of all, it rejected the idea of the infallibility of the Vedas. ठीक है. Secondly, it also challenged the Brahmanically dominated social order that was discriminatory not only towards Shudras and the slaves but also towards women. Thirdly, it emphasized upon karma as the key to salvation. And how to regulate karma? Would an individual be able to do it on their own, or would they have to take the help of some priest? They will be able to do this on their own. ठीक है. तो जो भी renunciation करना है, केश लोचन करना है, वो खुद से करना है, किसी की हेल्प नहीं लेनी है. So thus it challenged priestly domination as well. Fourthly, the idea of non-violence was unique for its time. Why? Because the age in which this idea emerged, that age itself was extremely violent. So non-violence was a refreshing new idea in the extremely turbulent Mahajanpad age. Fifthly, what was the attitude of Jainism towards rituals? मना कर दिया कि कोई एफिकेसी नहीं है. Rejected the efficacy of rituals. Thus, it also had solutions to many of the problems being faced by the people of the lower varnas, the non-Brahmins. Further, it also made grand contributions to art and literature, right? The oldest existing manuscripts belong to or associated with Jainism. Further, the earliest school of Indian miniature art, that is the Upper school or the Western school, that is also associated with Jainism. In the field of architecture, the temples at Khajuraho, Dilwara both have Jain imprints, etc. Right? So यहाँ पे भी बहुत major contribution है. Further, the principles of Jainism also contain the key to many modern problems. जैसे कि its emphasis upon non-stealing and non-accumulation of wealth could be applied to the principles of sustainable development. Its emphasis upon individual agency and its encouragement of skepticism towards figures of authority, especially authoritative thought, is also very useful for our generation when we want to encourage critical thinking. Thirdly, in an age where violence has become commonplace at almost every level, the ideas of Sayadvad and Ahimsavad are beacons for everyone to follow. So, organized as well as mundane violence, not only towards human beings but also towards animals, तो सॉल्व करने में जैनिज्म के प्रिंसिपल्स काफी काम आ सकते हैं. ठीक है. Further, the idea of non-accumulation of wealth can also be used for solving the problem of wealth inequality. etc. ठीक है. However, despite having all these advantages, Jainism also suffered from certain major limitations. क्या थी ये? While it challenged Brahmanism, did it complete or was it able to completely dismantle it? No. So it was unable to completely uproot Brahmanical thought. For example, while the hierarchy given by the Brahmins with regards to the Varna system was challenged, the idea of Varna itself was accepted by Jains. हाँ हाँ, नहीं चाहते ही नहीं थे ना, वही तो बात है. बट बिकॉज वो चले थे कि ब्राह्मणिज्म, उन्होंने शुरुआत यही करी थी ना कि ब्राह्मणिज्म के जो इल इफेक्ट्स हैं उनको हम रिड्यूस करेंगे. दे वर अनएबल टू डू दैट आल्सो बिकॉज दे वर नॉट एबल टू प्रेजेंट अ स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ चैलेंज टू ब्राह्मणिज्म. तो कई सारी सिमिलैरिटीज इसमें भी परसिस्ट करती थी. ठीक है. सेकेंडली, While they talked about non-violence, did they ever challenge the violence exhibited on a daily basis against Shudras and the Chandalas? No. So it never questioned or challenged the mistreatment of Shudras, Chandalas, and women. Thirdly, was it in a position to draw away many of the supporters of Brahmanism? No. Why? Because it was not, because it was extremely impractical. It was an extreme of, it represented an extreme of renunciation and penance, जो कि ordinary लोग नहीं observe कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? So, its impracticality and severity repelled most prospective followers. Most prospective followers. For example, दे सकते हो? Its insistence upon extreme non-violence repelled the farmers. Why? Because farming would have required the killing of some animals and pests, लेकिन इसमें मना था, right? Now, so these were some of the major limitations. Take down a question. Discuss the factors responsible for the emergence of Jainism. Why was it unable to match the popularity of Buddhism? Question mark. $200. So factors तो आप बता दोगे that were responsible for the emergence of Jainism. We have already covered those. So those social, political, economic, and religious factors. Why was it unable to become as popular as Buddhism? क्यों? Because it lacked the practicality of Buddhism. Right? एक तरफ जैनिज्म क्या बोल रहा था? Observing the 5 great vows, living the life of a renunciant, and living the life of a renunciant who even renounces wearing clothes. And observing the extremities of penance as well, santhara, sallekhna, kesh lochan, etc. its emphasis on non-violence also was so extreme that it was unable to attract the largest sections of the population. Con? The cultivators, the farmers. Why? Because farming requires the killing of certain pests and insects, animals, etc. Right? And therefore it was unable to gather many followers. And इसका सबसे बड़ा misfortune क्या था? That it appeared as the same time as Buddhism. Buddhism was nothing if not extremely practical. Instead of observing the extremities of penance and renunciation, Buddha prescribed the middle path. ठीक है? So he insisted upon the avoidance of any extremities. He was able to provide a solution to the problems faced by the people without creating any new problems for them. ठीक है? So he was able to satisfy the aspirations of the people, but observing Buddhism was much easier. In Jainism, there was only one option. You have to completely leave your home. ऐसा यहाँ पे नहीं होगा. Within Buddhism, it allowed for the presence of both kinds of followers. Sarmanas, that is the renunciants, the monks and nuns, as well as the lay followers or upasakas. That means householders who remain within their worldly life, maintain contact with their family members, do not leave them, take care of business, maintain their household, etc., but still associate themselves with the Buddhist Sangha. तो इसमें दोनों के लिए जगह थी. यहाँ पे किसके लिए जगह थी? केवल सरमनास के लिए. There was no place for upasakas. ठीक है? So converting to Jainism itself was going to require a high degree of commitment, right? तो या तो ऐसे लोग कन्वर्ट होंगे जो लाइफ में सब कुछ अचीव कर चुके हैं और कोई चाहते नहीं बची हैं, राइट? या फिर ऐसे जिनके पास कुछ नहीं है और उनके पास और कोई चारा नहीं बचता है. बुद्धिज्म ऑन द अदर हैंड could cater to the requirements of everybody else. ठीक है? Even those sections of the population. So that is why it was far more successful. Clear है? आई एम एंडिंग दिस लेक्चर नाउ. मुझे अभी ठीक नहीं लग रहा है. आगे की कहानी हम मंडे से कंटिन्यू करेंगे. ठीक है? चलिए देन. थैंक यू फॉर योर टाइम. मंडे को मिलते हैं.